achievements which have come from the University of Manchester. So as you can see there, some highlights from our history. We were established in 1824, so it's a very long and rich history and heritage. So you can see we were the first university in the UK to teach computer science. We discovered a very important material called graphene just a few years ago, and that won us a couple of Nobel Prizes as well. We were the first university to graduate a female in the field of law, so it's a really interesting place to be because a lot of history has come from this university and from the city itself as well. So this reputation for excellence extends into our global world rankings, which I'll talk about in a moment. But as I mentioned, we had 2 Nobel Prize winners come from the university just a few years ago, and 25 Nobel Prize winners have come from this university from our staff or student body since we were established. So we have a very, very strong reputation for excellence, for discovery and innovation. And the 3 areas that you can see on the screen are the 3 things we're most proud of. We put these at the heart of what we do here at Manchester. So first of all, world-class research. We currently rank number 5 in the Research Excellence Framework. So this will feed into your course, whether you're studying postgraduate or undergraduate programs. It means you'll have the opportunity to work with professors who have been really at the forefront of their subject. You're learning the most up-to-date information about your discipline, and often the textbooks you'll be using were written or contributed to by the lecturers we have here in Manchester. Coupled with this, you've got the chance to use really world-class facilities. We've got some which are open 24 hours a day. And also social responsibility. We're one of the only universities in the UK that puts this at the heart of our core goals. So we have a programme called the Stellify programme and something called Ethical Grand Challenges, which every undergraduate student will have the opportunity to take part in from the first year. So lots of things to look forward to, both in terms of academic study, but also outside of the classroom and other opportunities that you can make use of. These 2 gentlemen on the screen here are the 2 of those Nobel Prize winners, which I mentioned earlier. So Andrei Geim and Kostya Novoselov won the Nobel Prize for Physics for discovering graphene. So they're just 2 examples of our research excellence in recent years. Now, many of you will probably know Manchester as a city of football. You've probably heard of Manchester United and Manchester City, of course, but Manchester is much more than just its football teams. And you can see on the screen some of the highlights of coming to Manchester as a city, to be a student here. It's actually the UK's most popular student city. This university receives more undergraduate applications than any other in the UK, so it's a very, very popular city for students. The population of the city centre is about 500,000, and when the students are here during term time, it becomes 600,000. So the students really are a big part of Manchester, the city as well. And Manchester is also often regarded as the UK's second city. So after London, the capital, Manchester is considered the second most important city in terms of the culture and the influence in the United Kingdom. And that stems back, of course, to our history and link with the Industrial Revolution. Many people claim that Manchester is where it all began. The Industrial Revolution kicked off in this city, and it is considered the original modern industrial city, the first in the world. So the history of the city and the university itself are inherently linked, and thus it makes this, both the city and the university, a really exciting and interesting place to be, because there's constantly some kind of innovation, festivals, and with the swell of students from all over the world, it's a very international and dynamic city to be in as well. And if you look at the world rankings, this year we've been ranked at number 34 in the QS world ranking, and in the Shanghai Jiao Tong ranking we're at number 38. You can see back in 2004 we weren't so high up in the league tables, but we have made a huge amount of progress since then. That's because it's our ambition to be within the top 25 universities in the world by the year 2020. and we're making some excellent progress towards that goal at the moment. So you can see the huge leap we've made since 2004. And much of that success is due to our students. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the student body. You're lucky enough to be joined by some current and graduated students in the room with you, so I do encourage you to speak to them later this evening. We have quite a large student population. In fact, we're the largest university by student numbers in the UK. Around 39,000 this year in total, and of those 10,000 students are actually international students from outside Europe. So it's a very international university. From Hong Kong and Macau, we've had about 350 or so students this year. The majority are at undergraduate level, so I'd say around 300 are studying at undergraduate level, and the remaining 50 at master's or PhD level. So we've got a very long history of welcoming students from Hong Kong and Macau to the university campus. And because we're so used to welcoming these students from overseas to our campus, we actually are very lucky to have the International Society, which is a registered charity in the UK for supporting international students. They actually have an office, a physical presence on our campus. It's a very useful place to go if you want to meet new people, if you want to meet other students from Hong Kong and Macau, if you want to explore the UK. They do day trips to interesting attractions like York, some of the national parks that Manchester is quite close to, Edinburgh, and so on. So I'd really encourage you to get involved with the International Society. Last year we had students from over 165 different countries, so you can get a sense of the type of institution we are. We're large and diverse, so you'll find that in your halls of residence, in accommodation, and also in your lectures. You'll likely find that you'll be surrounded by students from many different backgrounds and many different countries. So it's a great forum for meeting people and exchanging ideas from different parts of the world. And because we have such a large student body, we are very proud to have the largest students' union in the UK as well. So we've got about 350 student societies. ManPASS, who is there with you, is just one of them. So we do have many societies dedicated to countries that you're from, also subjects. So those of you who are interested in law or management or languages, whatever subject you're studying, there will likely be a student society for that. Recreational and hobby societies are also available to join. So things like baking, skydiving, whatever hobby you have, that it's likely that there will be a society for that. And even if there isn't, if you can get some students together who share the same interest, you can actually set that up for yourself as well. We've also got some career societies, so for example Model UN. We've also got a Chinese business society, so for those of you who are particularly interested in working in the field of Chinese business, that's a pretty good society to get involved in. Sports I'll talk about in a moment, but we do have some unusual sports societies. Those of you who are Harry Potter fans, you're probably familiar with Quidditch. We actually have our own Quidditch team at the university as well. And for those of you who are interested in maybe trying something a bit different, we've got student media as well. Potentially those of you who want to become journalists in the future, we find that many students like to get involved with things like our student newspaper, the student radio station, and the student TV station and magazine. So some of these will have membership fees, some of them won't, but if you want to find out more about them, you can go on the Students' Union website and all the information will be there for you. And in terms of sport, you can either take part in sport as a competitive activity or as a more recreational activity. Many of our halls of residence also have hall sports teams, and some of our academic departments also have their own teams. So it's really up to you, the level of commitment you want to give to a certain sport. Every semester we have something called Sportisipate as well, to encourage students to try new sports. So for example, last semester, as part of Sportisipate, there were free squash courts at certain times of the week, free handball sessions and so on. So there are opportunities to try out new sports throughout the year, as well as committing more seriously to a professional or kind of team at the university. Now, most Wednesday afternoons are actually designated sports afternoons for students who are already part of a team. So it means that most students won't have lectures on Wednesday afternoons, so you can go and play against or compete against other university sports teams, because most of the matches take place on Wednesday afternoons. We're very lucky as well to have the Manchester Aquatic Centre just a stone's throw from the campus. That's actually an Olympic-sized swimming pool that was built for the Commonwealth Games. So that's accessible to students with a student discount as well. And we've also got two large sports facilities that are owned by the university, one on our campus and one in Fallowfield, which is an area where we have lots of student accommodation. And I'll talk about Fallowfield a bit more later on in this presentation. So there are lots of things to keep you occupied outside of classes if you want to get involved in societies or sports. Some students also ask me about whether they can work and get some work experience while they're in the UK. Generally that is possible. At the moment the policy is that if you are on a Tier 4 student visa, you can work while you study, but only for a maximum of 20 hours per week. And if you exceed that number of hours, it is actually quite a problem. So you should be very aware of this if you are looking to find part-time work. And because Manchester University is about a 10 or 15 minute walk from the city centre, which is full of restaurants, cafes, offices and shops, you could find part-time work there, but there is also plenty of more flexible work available on the campus. So things like helping us deliver campus tours when we have visitors, for example. Our Students' Union Cafe employs students from the university as well. So there are some more flexible opportunities on the campus. And in terms of how you find these jobs, I'd strongly recommend that you get involved with the careers service right from the beginning of your course. So if you're here for an undergraduate programme, I strongly recommend you sign up with them from your first year. If you're here for a postgraduate programme, I strongly advise you sign up in September when you arrive. Now, the careers service is a physical place you can go to have one-to-one careers advice. There's a careers resource library as well, and they can help you with your interview technique, but it's also an online portal where you can find part-time work, volunteering work and graduate work as well, and you do have access to that after you graduate for a couple of years, I think, as well. So it's a really fantastic service. It's free as well, and I strongly advise that you make use of it while you're in Manchester. And on the screen now you can see just a handful of some of the companies which have come to our campus to actively recruit students before. So some of these you may recognise as international or multinational organisations. So KPMG, PwC, large accounting and professional services firms, they actually have offices in Manchester as well. And last year, KPMG were actually actively recruiting students or graduates into their non-London branches, so regional branches rather than London. Also BBC, you probably have heard of as well. They have a kind of headquarters very close to Manchester too. Rolls-Royce cars, we actually conduct some research with Rolls-Royce. And some of you may not know that Mr. Rolls and Mr. Royce, the two founders of Rolls-Royce, actually met in the city of Manchester as well. So another first that came out of Manchester there. So these are some of the companies, as I said, that actually come to the campus. And we're very, very well known for inviting and attracting companies to our campus. And they come to deliver workshops or presentations, but also to attend exhibitions. So I may have even met some of you at the July exhibition or even the big British Council exhibitions in January. We hold big exhibitions like this, but we invite companies to talk to students. So we also have subject-specific exhibitions and events throughout the year. If you study law or if you're coming to study law, for example, every Tuesday lunchtime is a careers session, so we have lots of things available to you to attend, but we do recommend that you make the most of these opportunities where possible. So this year actually we're number 2 in the UK for attracting the biggest companies, the top 100 UK companies to recruit our students. So a very good reputation, not just amongst academics, but also amongst companies and firms. And this list is just some of the things that the Careers Service will offer you that I haven't already mentioned. We've also got things like the Manchester Leadership Programme, and this is a great programme that allows you to do some volunteering and work in the community, as well as study some modules which are not part of your normal course. Career planning, mentoring programmes, checking your CV. And so if you'd like more information about any of this, feel free to ask the students that you are in the room with, or you can go onto the website that's on the bottom of that screen. So the Career Service is just one area of support that we help you with, but of course we have a whole range of other support services too. Starting with the Immigration Advice Team, or the Student Immigration Team. Many of you will be applying for your visa at this point now, so we advise you, if you're having any problems, first of all to consult the guidance which is available on our website, and if you're still having problems then you can call the Student Immigration Team directly for advice. We also offer more pastoral and personal counselling as well. We have a free and confidential professional counselling service which you can make use of if you're having more personal problems. Every student will be given an academic advisor when they start the course, and that's a single point of contact that you can go to if you have any academic questions, or if you're not sure which modules to choose or how to progress your career or anything like that. That's what they're there for, and they often have office hours. In fact, all professors will have office hours so that you can ask them questions at your convenience. In terms of disability support, we can normally cater for any type of disability, whether it's a learning disability or physical disability. As long as you kind of let us know in advance, we should be able to set that up for you by September. We also have a financial advice service to help you with budgeting. And in the halls of residence, we have a residential life team. So these are tutors that can help you if you're struggling in your living situation in halls of residence. Again, I'll talk in more detail about this later on. And finally, societies, the Students' Union, as I mentioned, and the International Society are fantastic sources of information and support if you need it as well. So remember that everyone coming to the university for the first time is in it together, and we're not expecting you to know everything from day one. So these services are really there for you to use, as well as, of course, myself and colleagues in the International Office who can help you as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some of the practical information that you will need to know to prepare yourselves to come to Manchester. And at the forefront of many people's minds is the finance and the financial situation. So for tuition fees, obviously that's one part of the finance aspect of coming to university. Now for fees, if you can, you should pay these online before you arrive, and this is actually part of the registration process anyway, so you'll be prompted when you complete the registration process. What you need is a credit or debit card, or if you want to pay by direct debit, you need to have a UK bank account, okay? So if you're not sure how much your course costs, this should be on your offer letter, or it should be prompted to you when you register anyway. If you're not sure, please get in touch with your academic school and they will check this for you. Okay, now the second part of finance is the living costs. And we do recommend different living costs depending on whether you're studying for undergraduate or postgraduate. For an undergraduate course, we'd recommend per year budgeting around £9,700. That's to include everything except your tuition fees. So everything including accommodation, buying textbooks, clothes, eating, everything. So I'd recommend between £9,000 and £10,000 for an undergraduate based on a 40-week year, okay? If you're here, or if you're coming to Manchester to study a postgraduate course, we'd recommend a little bit more, so possibly more around £11,000 to £12,000, okay, because that's a slightly longer year of about 52 weeks. So that's the amount I think you should budget, but a lot of it does depend on your lifestyle, and I strongly recommend speaking to the students in the room with you for their recommendations. Because Manchester is such a student-friendly city, there are student discounts across the city. You can walk from the campus to the city centre as well, so transport costs are usually kept quite low. And in terms of accommodation, which I'll speak about later, you can expect to pay between £95 a week to £140 per week. That depends on the accommodation that you choose. So the cheapest one we have this year is £95. But again, it really depends on the type of room and the type of lifestyle that you choose to lead. Okay, now the next part of coming to Manchester is applying for your visa. Some of you have already started this, which is great. Others of you who perhaps have gained a place through clearing, you should really start thinking about this very soon. As soon as your offer becomes unconditional, you will receive a CAS number. And a CAS number is very important because you need to put that on your visa application form. If you haven't received your CAS number yet, maybe just wait a couple more days. They're still being processed, particularly for those who have gained a place through clearing. But if you don't receive anything by perhaps early or middle of next week, it's a good idea to contact the academic school just to check on the progress. Once you've got your CAS number, you can start applying for your visa and get all your supporting documentation together. And the way the visa is issued is that you'll receive two parts. The first part will be the visa that goes in your passport, and that will be used to arrive in the UK when you first come here in September. Then you need to collect the second part of your visa, which is called a BRP card, and you can collect that on campus as long as you enter the code 2HE372, and that code is very important if you want the convenience of collecting your BRP card on campus. And you can do that within the first couple of weeks that you arrive in Manchester. So that's how it works, okay? And there are some links on the screen here. You will have to submit a tuberculosis test result as well, and the details will be on our website, or you can find that on the government's visa advice as well. You also need to show us some evidence of funds, but again, you will have been given the details in terms of the exact amounts in various emails from us over the past few weeks. And some of you may be wondering about the extra health surcharge as well. The health surcharge is for access to the National Health Service, and the National Health Service is generally free for most residents in the UK, but as an international student you need to pay a little bit, a small amount of money to have access to that service as well. So this means that you'll have access to accident and emergency at hospital. You can go to the doctors, for example, without having to pay anything. So if you do break your leg here, you can go to the hospital and be seen to for free. So it's a really fantastic service that we're very lucky to have here in the UK. And you pay that surcharge as part of your visa application anyway. So we strongly recommend that you do that. We also recommend that you get separate medical insurance anyway, because there are some things which may not be covered by the NHS, which you might want to cover for. But again, that's your decision. But if you wanted to take out medical and travel insurance, then it might be a good idea to do that too. So the visa application process is fairly straightforward, and we have got plenty of guidance on our website, on that link on the screen. But of course, some of you may have more complicated individual circumstances, and in that case, if you want to contact our student immigration team, the best thing to do would be to phone at this stage. Otherwise, they do have an email address as well. Okay, now another very important part of coming to university in the UK, at any university, is accommodation, of course. So where are you going to live? So I'm going to talk through what we've got available at the University of Manchester. Now we actually have a guarantee for international students at Manchester. As long as you apply before the deadline, and as long as you're coming to the UK by yourself, then we will be able to guarantee you accommodation. Okay, so these are the choices you have available. As soon as you have received an offer, you are able to apply for accommodation. So all of you in the room are offer holders, so you can apply for accommodation now if you haven't already. The deadline is the 31st of August, so you only have about a week left to do it. But if you want the guarantee, you should do that within the next few days. The first choice you have is the type of bedroom. And on the screen, you can see 3 different types of room that we have. The first one is en-suite facilities, so it's similar to a hotel room where you have the bathroom within your bedroom. That option tends to be the more expensive option. Okay. Then the middle one is standard wash basin, where you have a wash basin in your bedroom, so you can brush your teeth and wash your face, but you have to share your shower and your toilets with other people that you live with. And standard facilities is where you don't have any washing facilities in your bedroom, but you can go and share a bathroom with other people that you live with. So when I say other people that you'd be living with, it can range from between around 8 to 15 people, depending on the hall of residence that you choose. Remember that every bedroom is a private bedroom, so it will just be you in your bedroom, but you may have to share your kitchen or your bathroom. So when I was a student here in Manchester, I actually shared my bathroom, both the toilets and the showers, with 8 other girls, and that was cleaned by the university staff. Remember, if you choose en-suite facilities, that's where you need to actually clean it yourself. So it's really up to you, depending on your budget and your preference. So the other choice that we have is catered and self-catered. So catered means that the university will provide food for you. It means that you go to a big dining hall and it's kind of like a buffet and you can choose what you want to eat. The only problem with this is that although it's very convenient in some ways, it does restrict you in terms of when you eat, because there are strict breakfast and dinner times, and if you miss those times, you'll have to provide food for yourself. But it is a very popular option with many of our students. Self-catered means that you cook by yourself, you do your own grocery shopping, you share your bathroom, sorry, not your bathroom, your kitchen. So much like the photo on the screen, your kitchen will be shared. It will have a cooker, a toaster, microwave, basic facilities, a fridge, of course, and a freezer, so you can make use of that however you please. In Manchester, we're lucky to have a very large Chinese community, so we have a Chinese supermarket very close to campus as well. We have the second biggest Chinatown, and this means that our Chinese supermarkets often cater for Chinese tastes. So we have Chinese vegetables, pak choy, all that kind of stuff. It's quite easy to come by in Manchester. Some people ask if you need to bring a rice cooker. The answer is no, because you can buy them in Manchester, but they're probably much cheaper in Hong Kong. But chopsticks and everything are very easy to find in Manchester as well. But of course, these are things you can ask the students that you're in the room with as well. And then the final choice of accommodation is between locations. So on the screen now you can see the 3 different locations we have for accommodation at the university. So the first area is called City Campus, and that area is the purple area at the top of the screen. So within this area is all of our university buildings. So lecture theatres, the Students' Union, the library, everything is clustered within this area. So if you wanted to live on the city campus, you would be within very close distance to your lectures and all the services we offer at the university. So those small purple houses you can see are different dormitories or different halls of residence that we have available. So you have the convenience of the university, but also the city centre as well. So Manchester Piccadilly train station that you can see right at the top of the picture, that's the main train station in Manchester. So you can see how close some of our dormitories are to the city centre. The next area is called Victoria Park. That's the green area in the middle. That's about a 15-20 minute walk to the campus. So it really is quite a good area if you want to be outside of the student bubble a little bit, but still close enough to walk to the campus if you want to. So we have some really nice dormitories there, and that area tends to be a bit quieter, a bit calmer, obviously because it's slightly outside of the city centre. And finally, Fallowfield, that's the one that I mentioned a little bit earlier. That is actually our most popular area for accommodation, despite it being the furthest away. So you can see it's about a half-an-hour walk to the campus, but many students like to live here because it's like a student